I think Rob just disabled an add-on that required a reboot.
Different incline settings detected. Yes, sync your settings. Put them in the river.
Yeah, I'd say my day's been pretty good, aside from the half-hour wait for Little Caesars. That was uncalled for.
Hopefully it wasn't a hot and ready.
Oh, you know it was.
And it was neither hot nor ready.
No, it's because Little Caesars are very busy on Friday nights, just like every last pizzeria. So if you
and apparently, their computer went down.
Oh, even worse. Jesus fuck.
Or at least had some kind of problems. Like, I had placed my order over the app, and I was just there to pick up. But it was a drive-through, which I thought would, that'll be quick. It wasn't quick.
At least that's better than Taco Bell. Or at least the Taco Bell KFC that we have near our house, like, every so often they get a whole bunch of new trainees all in at once, and sometimes and sometimes they only have one fry layer up and running. So there are times where we get into the line, and it takes like 10 minutes to get to the order taking spot, and depending on how big the orders are ahead of us, we could be in that line for another 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, no. Solid reasons to continue to avoid fast food.
And that's why DoorDash wins. Or making your own.
Can't blame you. But hey, we're all here. Things are pretty kind of sort of functional. Rob is working like crazy in the background to make sure everything is running smoothly.
Hey!
Thank you for all the work that you put into the server, Rob. We appreciate it.
Yes, we do.
Thank you for saying so. I appreciate that. I was starting to think I was falling for the sunk cost fallacy, so hopefully it all pans out and it is indeed worth it.
The excitement you feel for developing technologies is well rewarding. I just really love that Valor Company symbol on the top left.
It is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So tonight is our first night diving back into the game. Let me check my notes over here for a second.
What happened last time?
We will certainly be getting to that. Whether or not the name pays off, I've dubbed this new season of Shadows as the Valinor Offensive. I don't know where it's going to go. We'll find out one way or the other. As for what happened last time, that's the easy part. Y'all kicked some ass and pushed a bunch of bad guys outside of the Vale and claimed a city, which is currently under occupation by the Meraki. What I'm more fascinated with, and what I'd like to start off tonight with, is probably loading up my recording software. Because I nearly forgot to do that.
It's the first recording of a new season.
Oh shit.
I'm waiting for him to say it's running.
Can I get a quick sound check?
1, 2, 3.
In my lane, moisturized and thriving.
Penis.
Nice.
My tits are cold.
Rob's surprisingly loud right now. Actually, turn him down.
Oh, sorry.
Alright, that's working well enough.
I'd rather have to turn you down than turn my whole system up.
Understandable.
Right. As I was saying, the thing I'm most interested in is hearing what went on between sessions. There have been a a couple threads up on the forum. I want to hear about what's going on over there. I would make one request that we save the most recent thread for last.
I don't think I... Well, I have to go find out if I actually participated in threads between hiatus.
Oh my
Oh,
god,
you
you have a
did.
terrible memory. Okay,
No
so
I
kidding.
really do.
the first thread that was open after hiatus was a Konami Alistair thread. I will back off to let one of you two handle that.
Did that happen after hiatus?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Connie
Oh.
kissed Alistair.
Oh. All right, so for
And the
some reason,
player
I thought
promptly
that...
forgot about it, so I don't know. Kanane, how do you feel about that?
I am hurt.
He's got his head in the gearbox. I'm sorry.
Fucking fuck. Was that really?
Please don't stop there. What happened? What happened?
They kissed. There you go. That's all you get. Now, they talked. Kanani asked him about the thanks love thing after talking about various other things that, like, what to do next and about Telemon and stuff like that, because Kanani always starts with important news and then springs on what's on her mind. Alistair said he wanted to try things out. And Kanani stared at him for a little bit and leaned in, and he got very, very fidgety and awkward, and she kissed him.
He's been enrolled in a new class and he is not prepared for his studies.
In essence, yes.
And we more or less ended the thread there. Basically, they went back to the glaive and just had a quiet evening together.
Followed by a morning with friends.
No.
Where
Follow-
Kanani announced that she kissed Alistair and everyone spit taped.
Yes. Well, there was another thread that was kind of simultaneous, kind of after, where Taliesin was with Mirai, searching out fields and stuff, and Taliesin pushed a little bit to find out some more information because he, had some insight into her reactions and just was taking his time, and has pretty much confirmed that Kalamo is very likely someone that Mirai actually knew before she got lost in time from the City of Doors. And Taliesin, or she won't give Taliesin her name, even though Taliesin's like, hey, you know what, we could totally possibly, if it's your friend, we can either find out by you giving us their name and having, say, reach out to her and see if scrying on her specifically does get her to Kalamo, or, if she doesn't get a ping, then, your friend's dead. I mean, it's a win-win, sort of, kind of, not really, but,
It's a win. Everyone wins.
I mean, you could keep hoping that she's not her, and then get your heart crushed when you find out that it is her, or you can find out she's dead, and hey, at least she's not a bad person. He agreed to not push, not ask for the name. She's gonna take some time to figure shit out. Then there was the morning shenanigans where Scrum was talked about and possibly acquired for a game or two. After that was then the Telemon conversation with Alistair and Konami.
I think we're also forgetting the Dragon of Kalmar thread.
Oh shit! Yeah, you're right. I did forget
Yeah,
that.
there's also a thread that happened.
Yes. Say had a heart-to-heart with Kane where she's like, we're not trying to piss you off, we just happened to piss you off. I think they had a pretty decent realignment of seeing eye to eye. She may have revealed a little bit more about Taliesin than she'd like, but when he was like, tell me everything you know, she went, no. Also, I'm not gonna do the disservice of trying to lie to you. I'm just not gonna fucking tell you.
Shrewd.
Which is the kind of straight shooting that he seems to respond to.
For better or for worse. Oh, that was the big stuff from that thread. A lot of like just talking tactics about what's going to happen next, and maybe smoothing some ruffled feathers over demanding the bracers from him in front of his entire war room for not being effective enough in battle.
Yeah, I think it was a well done conversation. I think it maneuvered things in place to where Kane is a little more of a willing ally.
It's begrudging ally.
I would say that the undercurrents and insinuations of that conversation really, really elevated it.
Yeah, watching that play out was actually pretty cool. That was an entertaining read.
Kane is a likable sociopath. Well, maybe that's only half true.
Likable sociopath. Likable is a strong word. Maybe
likable is a strong word.
Can be reasoned with. Can point him in the right direction. I guess
reasonable
maybe.
Sociopath. Yeah. So those were three threads that rounded out your first night in Kaladesh. Then there was a morning thread.
Say aggressively wants everyone to play Scrum.
Scrum do sound like a good time. Sounds like a painful time, but a good time.
Scrum is a painful good time. It's Say's second favorite painful good time.
I'm gonna leave that there. Yeah, most of the conversation was about the Scrum and the discussion of, making teams and maybe possibly palling it up with a couple of, crows? Maybe not crows, but some Murky who may be less willing to shoot us on sight. Conversation turned to airships and how he wanted to handle the situation in Aster. A few ideas were floated. Toward the end of it, Alistair had a brainstorm and had to go take a walk to figure out what exactly they were working with in terms of the arcane, in terms of teleportation and whatnot. He floated the idea of using Telemon's castle to fly up and above, the cloud line. But that was predicated on whether or not Telemon was one, willing to help, and two, if that was even tactically a good idea, and three, how fast the damn thing moved. When he went for a walk, he headed off in that direction. The other option was to procure airships, either to find one that wasn't owned, or purchase one, repair one, what have you. A lot of what-ifs and maybes, hence the need to get out and find out. During that conversation, Taliesin said something about Mirai that caught Alistair's attention that he hasn't followed up on yet.
Okay.
Also, the party knows that Kanani and Alistair kissed.
Very much of secondary importance.
Secondary objectives, side quests.
But very important nonetheless.
I mean, most of the lore is in the side quests. So you get most of your, levels to raffle stomp the end bosses.
I mean, the side quests are where you build up your relationships with those around you, so.
Hell yeah, team dynamics.
But it seems like Alistair's wandering actually led somewhere.
Yeah, if we want to follow that thread. Meeting up with Telemon. Found out the goblins are fixing his shit, which is very nice. It seems that he has minions, or perhaps they're just willing to work for the biggest person in the room. Makes sense. It's pretty big. He seems like he's okay, or going to be okay. Alistair straight up asked if Telemon was interested in pursuing the ideals of, creating peace. That seemed to resonate with Telemon, and I suspect it's because of what Telemon had to say about giant kind, dragons, and the true First Age. According to Telemon, the small folk are experiencing the Fourth Age of the world, where modern-day scholars and historians believe it to be the Third Age. Telemon made it important note to say that this is not information that is shared. Giants don't share this information. They're not supposed to. But for this group, you made an exception, it would seem. The First Age, according to Telemon, was one of dragons, and the second-born, the giants, who seemed to be a force to contend with dragons as they were, ambitious and violent things. The world... He implied that the world was made unhospitable for small folk, and that only by agreeing to not making war could the world be made safe for small folk. It seems that giants have decided to take a step back, maybe give up some claim to the world, and it seems that dragons are no longer allied in any such fashion. Both dragons and giants are kind of cast off in their own directions, separated, splintered as far as factions go. Telemon then went on to say that he, in no uncertain terms, that he is not interested in joining this fight, or, risking himself further, in that the fighting that is happening is important. He made mention that once his obligations are completed here, that he is to report to the Storm King and tell him about what is going on. And that it's unlikely that we'll ever see him again. Kind of a bummer. So Alistair and Kanani kind of hung out with him for a while. And I think we ended on the note of Alistair kind of asking Telemon if there was anything that he could show him about giants and their magic and their world before they had to part ways.
Okay. Some notes to add on to that. That's regarding the First Age, that's a relatively peaceful understanding of how it came to an end. I would say that Telemon insinuated that if dragons were the problem with the First Age, the giants were the solution, in a not so peaceful way. That nonetheless ended with, agreements and a world that was much more hospitable to what came later.
Yeah, I watered it down a little bit. Disneyfied it.
And some more information regarding his position with the war. The fact that the adversary seems to be Hectopole, one of the 7 dragons. It makes it dicey for him to get involved, but he did want to bring word to the Storm King so that decisions could be made about whether the giants would commit or not, since the scale of this war has yet to reach the scale of the wars they had previously been involved in. I think that was part of what he was insinuating about the First Age.
That makes sense.
The Giants sat out a bunch of wars that changed the world because they fought in one that was much worse. Leave the scale of that up to the imagination. But yeah, so once Valor Company has agreed that, everything is good, they appreciate things, and they would take their leave, he is ready to get on with his mission. And he expressed his interest in meeting everyone again, but pointed out that giants are very long-lived and little folk are not. So there was that possibility there.
Yeah, kind of a bummer, but it is what it is.
I would say the giant magic question was left kind of hanging, so we'll return there in a little bit. And now I believe that'll bring us to our last threads, which has to do with Taliesin and Say.
We bought an airship and made it to Tabaxi Friend, who we would like to pay lots of money to be the adult on the ship.
I mean, that's a very succinct summation.
So we bought it. So we talked to 3 of the members of the Council of Captains. The Dragonborn was a bitch, and Say basically wrote her off immediately because she was being a bitch. And Say's kind of over kowtowing to that. She's like, yeah, I just saved your asses, but if you want to be a bitch to me, okay. We're just going to ignore you and deal with the nice halfling, Tabaxi, and Dwarven fellow here.
Varying levels of nice and agreeable.
There's some back and forth, some threatening to just take the castle to Aster, like that was actually an option. And then Say was finally like, well, what the fuck, I already have a Heartstone, I just need a ship.
And that led to some interesting discussion among them. And interesting discussions with the Tabaxi, Bosun Sonia Taloma, one of the representatives of the crews who are under the command of the Captain's Council.
AKA the one we want to keep. And pay boatloads of money to be the adult on the ship. She basically took over negotiations through Say, which Say appreciated because she doesn't know shit about boats. But with the bosun's guidance, they were able to get a good deal on the ship. Sans Heartstone, so that's a project for Alistair.
Indeed. And I believe there was one more little thread happening.
We didn't get a chance
at the same time, but
yeah, we didn't get a chance to finish it because it got pushed so late. And old job was killing my creativity, so we kind of put the priority on the thread that was going to affect everyone. But Say and Taliesin had a good conversation, and he asked to borrow the Palantir, and it got weird for a minute. But they recovered.
Oh. That sounds important.
It's fine. She's just
fine.
Wants to protect Taliesin from revealing his face to all the evil gods that lurk in chat.
Oh my god, the image of like an old school AOL or MSN chat room just flashed into my head. All the Forsaken are a bunch of trolls.
Matsu's randomly whispering at you.
You won't. You won't do it. You won't.
Oh god, I want to explore that later. Like, what would be the screen names and what would be their chat personalities?
We got Man in
That's
Black for Matsos already. But the man it's all like weirdly formatted with special characters.
Oh god, the special MSN characters.
Oh god.
Like you were the edgelord if you had everything in just symbols and special characters.
Hey, I'm being called out right now. I don't like it.
Yeah, about to say, sir, you can
missed
back
that.
right the fuck up.
I'm literally in a Pokemon chat with it, and his Discord handle is local man ruins everything backwards and upside down.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna think about that idea now. That's gonna be an amusing thought experiment. All right, so that brings us to our current day, our current time, our current adventure in Shadows of Mobius.
Yeah, I'm just crossing the T's and dotting the I's on the bookkeeping. Looks like we're down to 1,500 gold, which we can totally swing. Do we want anything else to add to this to lower the gold cost?
Looking now.
Kanani really likes her purple sapphire.
I mean, that's fair.
Like-
Say's happy to throw in the Boots of Pharaoh Leaping. That's actually, Say travels pretty fucking light. I think that's the only thing she really has.
Do you know what the rarity is on those?
I'm double checking myself.
Okay.
It does not say.
I'm going to say that. I mean, it identifies it as a wondrous item, but
Yeah, it's a
wondrous
wondrous-
doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't equate to rarity.
Damn you, Matt Mercer.
I'm going to say it's an uncommon item.
All right, that'll knock 400 off the top. So we're looking at 1,100 or 110 platinum.
I'm pretty sure my fifth size golden eighth is going to be more useful for us.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess everyone got the many-handed pouch because I have one in my inventory.
Yep, we all
So-
got one.
Most everyone does. Right now, the only one who doesn't have it is Jaeger, because I can only make 5 of them. I assume Jaeger will be doing more smashing than opening up of his pouch, though.
Hey, it's a place I can store all the fucking potions I make.
Only one at a time, please.
I got 2 pouches.
You can delete one of those.
Okay.
All right, so at 1,100, I'll deduct that out of the bag of holding, which still leaves us with 410 platinum. We have over 4,100 gold.
Cool, but that cuts off some of the, like, oh my god, we're getting rid of all of our liquid assets panic that set in. I was like,
Yeah.
I was feeling as panicked as I do when I spend, like, large amounts of real life money.
Yeah, it's that big purchase
wasn't-
anxiety.
It wasn't even, like, big purchase anxiety, it was, like, $40 shirt levels of anxiety. Like, oh, do I
just don't
really...
I just don't want to spend it. Like, do I really need it?
How much do I
if-
need this shirt?
I love the D&D phenomena of you've accumulated all this loot, you've had no opportunity to really spend it on anything substantial. But the moment you have the opportunity to spend it on something substantial, all of a sudden it becomes too valuable to spend.
We're hoarding
But I'm
it for the end boss. We might need it for the last fight.
Just imagine how many +1 shields we can make with that. That said, Jaeger, Say and Taliesin. Taliesin, if you could remove the scale from your inventory, say if you could remove the Boots of Furrow Leaping and Jaeger, if you could part with that beautiful emerald, that should make us square.
Working on it.
With a little bit of downtime, I can just make potions and sell potions and get that money back.
Yeah, basically.
How do I dragged it and dropped it off because I forgot that I'm not actually playing Baldur's Gate. How do I remove this?
So, to the right of it, there should be a little trash can button.
I found it. I had to unlock my character sheet.
Oh, okay, cool.
They're gone.
Alrighty.
And Say had to buy new boots. I'm assuming she did not walk to the Shatterkai barefoot, but she might have.
Easy to... I would easily say that on locating the Shatterkai Cobbler, which I'll provide more context for soon enough. They would be more than... I wouldn't say more than willing, but work has come to a bit of a standstill, so yeah, they'd be able to accommodate you more or less right away.
Perfect.
But we'll circle back to that. I would like to start with Jaeger and Klinkle. So we're picking up game about halfway-ish through the day. The party is pretty much split up to see two different things. Alistair going to walk through some ideas and talk to Telamon, Konane trailing after him. Say and Taliesin going down into Kaladesh to take a look around and visit the shipyards. Klinkle and Jaeger, you are kind of left to your own devices to see what the two of you like to do. I've moved us to a new map to give us a flavor of Kaladesh. This town is a little more developed than I had in mind, but it fits the right atmosphere, I think.
Fantasy London?
Yeah, only much lower scale. Kaladesh is a port town that really was built to serve a military purpose. So there's a lot of emphasis on the shipyards and the fort at the center of it all. There's a wall being raised to separate the ruling district of town from the port itself. And the port itself is pretty much clogged with Mareki warships at the moment. So yeah, Jaeger and Klinkle, what would you like to do? Timeout, shit's happening. I'll continue them, just reading the founder.
Klinkle's first thing to do is, since people are in out because they didn't pay attention to the question, is actually get a head count on who needs potions.
We figured that out in the last game.
I've got 2 regular healing potions.
I have 1.
Taliesin has had 0 for a while, and I know I mentioned it during the last game. During the last game, we were initially trying to get your head count. I mentioned that he did not have it.
I have a potion.
If you want everyone to have one, I can just give Taliesin one of mine.
Or I could just make 4 and have everyone have 2.
You could.
Does Konani have potions?
I do not believe I have any potions. Let me double check. I'm pretty sure I didn't see any. Oh, I do. I have 1 potion of healing.
Okay. So then sometime during the day I'm going to look into making at least 5 potions. But on that, I don't really have anything lined up.
All right, so as the party kind of splits up to see to their various tasks, Clinkle breaks out her cauldron and well, actually, in the Grove, you have access to a cauldron and all kinds of local herbs and such to mix into your potions. So, all right, so Klinkle is going to dedicate herself to once more providing some elixirs to the party. Jaeger, what are you up to?
Well, if they're in Port Town, Jaeger's just gonna wander the port, checking on the tavern, see if he can catch some scuttlebutt.
That is a good opportunity for me to dive into some insight on Kaladesh. So, as mentioned, Kaladesh very much is a town built for a purpose. To that extent, Jaeger, as you head into town, you don't really see any buildings with like signage indicating what kind of storefront. You don't even see storefronts. Um, you do see there are Shatterkai and goblins and Duergar about, kind of keeping to the edges of the road, because there are a lot of Mareki patrols moving around. Those residents of Gur that you see in the city, they're dressed remarkably casually, all things considered. Like these, you're used to seeing these Gurish residents dressed in armor and armed and, you know, on the other end of a fight from you. But now you're seeing the civilians that they brought with them, the craftsfolk, the laborers, all the little people that make the war effort work. And you kind of follow your instincts. You've been in a couple port towns, you've traveled a lot. And you know that even the most strictest of towns is bound to have some local watering hole where people can just kind of blow off steam. So I would like you to make a check for me. Let me have a tell me what kind of check makes sense to you.
To do what exactly? Am I just like looking around to see like
To
finding
find the tavern and listen to scuttlebutt.
That seems like investigation.
Investigation makes sense. Applying your deductive reasoning.
That 20.
It begins. So, in a port town in which you do not even speak the local language, where most of the locals look upon
Yes, he
you
does.
with. Does he?
Belt of Duergar kind.
The Belt of Duergar kind. You have access to one of their languages. This makes sense with the Nat 20. I assume you would leverage that ability to speak with some of the Duergar?
For sure. And if they snicker to make light of his tone of voice, he will just like lean in really closely.
I would say like the first couple you encountered did have that reaction, up until you leaned in, and after that, they started to respond a little more positively towards you. All of them they're pretty sulky about the situation in town, but you do follow some mumbled, grumbled comments, leading you down into the waterfront towards a rather nondescript building, a few houses back from the wharf. And upon entering, you find a dimly lit interior that has a lot of Gurish residents inside. You see a bunch of Duergar, Shatterkai. You even see a handful of half-orcs. And upon entering, this fairly packed tavern immediately goes quiet as every set of eyes in the building turn to look at you. That is not the appropriate music for a scene like this.
Jaeger's gonna glance about the tables and see what kind of coins they're using.
Give me a perception check.
$22.
Okay. All right, with a 22, most of them try to hide their coins. They don't want, especially with a outsider wandering in, they don't necessarily want to show what they have. You do catch sight of some dark glints of coins exchanging hands. They seem to all have the dull shine of Gurish coin. I would say you can't get even with a 22, unless you just walk up to a table and try to inspect someone's coins. You can't really tell exactly what state the coins are in, but just from the gleam in the dark light of the tavern, you can tell that these are Gurish metals, which tend to be darker, less reflective.
Any red streaks?
You can't tell without getting closer.
Alright. Yigish is gonna go to the bar. Ask for a mug of the stiff stuff.
Important note, do you ask it in Duergar or a different language?
Checking, just make sure which I have Undercommon, not Duergar written. So I would ask it in Undercommon.
When the hell did you pick up Undercommon? That's a fairly...
That might be what's specified by the belt.
No, the belt should be...
Should be in the description if you just pop it open here.
I tried and it wouldn't let me. I'll try again.
Right click and edit it. It's under your equipment. Your inventory. Are you popped out?
Yeah, I am.
Check your main screen because it might have popped up on your main screen. What am I doing? I can just look in the... One sec.
Okay, I'm doing exactly what I'm doing.
Undercommon, yeah, I can speak, read, and write Undercommon. It's the very last line.
Okay. I guess Duergar isn't an actual language in D&D, is it?
I don't believe so. Duergar,
No,
if you're
Duergar
looking...
translates language.
Yeah, Duergar typically speak Dwarven and Undercommon.
There we go. That makes a lot more sense. And is a lot more useful in a situation like this. The tavern keeper behind the bar being a fairly stern-looking Shatterkai who looks you over, recognizes that you don't look like anyone they've seen from the Mareki so far, and you've already gained the impression that most of the residents of Kaladesh haven't seen many Mobian outsiders except those that have been taken prisoner and sent to work in the shipyards. So there's a very slow nod of their head as they move down the line and find a bottle to pour into a simple glass that they set in front of you. And you notice none of the bottles they have here have any labels. None of them seem identifiable at first glance.
Then he's gonna like, oh yeah, what kind of coins do you prefer to be paid in? Oh,
And there's a moment of confusion on on his face. There's only one type of coin that is served here.
Jaeger's gonna like look at him and do the rolling his head to explain.
The innkeeper looks baffled. Like he genuinely does not know how to answer that kind of question.
So I have the common coin that I'm used to using, and then I also have some of the red streak metal. I've noticed that a lot of people seem to enjoy.
You mentioned the red streak coin, and there's a shifting around you and quiet murmuring, and you see that the crowd starts to relax a little bit. The innkeeper seems to nod a little more accepting of you. Yes, we do accept the marks here.
Alright, Jaeger's going to first pull out the Durga dagger, and then the entire ingot of it.
You place an entire ingot of metal on the bar.
Yes, that's it. Get some good information.
Jaeger, roll an insight check.
I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just playing. Eight.
You can't tell much, but this tavern keeper he seems thoroughly confused by what you're going for. He doesn't quite know what to make of you. I would say at this point it might be dawning on you that this port is not, they don't serve outsiders. They don't work with Mobians. I mean, you know this. Like, this was a staging ground for Gurish forces, so you seem to blend in to a certain degree. You still draw stares, but you're in this position of they don't know whether you're one of them or one of them. And having the right coinage seems to indicate one thing, but planting an ingot of metal on a bartender's table to trade for information, the bartender honestly does not know what to do with that. You may be the first person to walk into his bar and try to pay with a bar of unworked metal.
Does anyone have any ideas? because Jaeger's just like playing Columbo.
My idea is to watch Jaeger play Columbo because it's fucking hilarious.
What is Jaeger trying to find out exactly?
Just some good gossip, just something good. Jaeger's good at this, but I'm not.
I feel like a lot of these decisions do make sense within the context of any other tavern, except maybe putting the metal on table. That's just hilarious. But I think Jaeger's getting stymied by just the strangeness of this situation. It's kind of like you walked into a side of town that you've never been in before and walked into a bar kind of expecting one thing, and everyone immediately clocks that you're not from this part of town. I will say the innkeeper does kind of like reach forward and picks up the ingot, turning it over in his hand, and he looks at you. When you asked about coin, I assumed you had coin. Are you looking to barter then?
Yeah. With some of that fine think behind you, it may be a little bit of the local gossip.
I am not sure what to tell you. The town is under occupation. What tribe do you hail from?
As I'm reading...
Jaeger, if you're going to try lying, which might or might not work, the only camp of Goliaths that we have ever seen that might have been aligned with Hectopole is the Stone Bones camp.
Yeah.
Also worth pointing out, as a Goliath, you don't bear much of a resemblance to the Shatterkai or the Duergar.
Could pass for an orcish thing.
You might be able to pass as a half-orc, and it seems like that's the nearest thing that this guy can identify you as. And if I remember correctly, Jaeger, you spent time with the Windrunners back at the refuge. I believe some of the information about the half-orcs of Gur were passed on to you, wasn't it?
That's correct.
Yeah, so you would know that among the Gurish, half-orcs are actually the offspring of orcs and either humans or Shatterkai. So there is a little bit of diversity in how they appear. In a certain light, you could potentially pass for a half-orc among people who don't know any better. So the question about tribe makes a little more sense.
I hail from Gur.
Well,
The tavern keeper looks just as... He looks confused, but also... He kind of nods a little bit as like, oh, he's one of those half-orcs. I see. In that case, he lifts up the ingot, This, not great for currency, but good for trading. And now you're definitely getting a vibe for him as he's changing his conversational tact. Have you been here long in this world?
Oh my god!
No, I haven't been here long. Getting used to the area.
I see. It's a bad time to be here, unfortunately.
Oh god, my airport is shit.
This place, enemy tribe have moved in and seized the town from those who brought us here.
Would explain all of the elves and the ships.
So you know of the elves? Yes, it's uncommon to see so many on the waters.
Where are the rest of the forces? Are they returning?
We should certainly hope so. If only to clear things up so we can get back to the work.
The work.
The work. Then he nods approvingly.
Jaeger nods conspiratorially.
Yes. The work. Wink, wink.
Any big projects here that I should know of that I could perhaps join in on?
None that I am aware of at the moment, friend. We have heard that there have been fighting in other parts of the city, but, well, with the dragon soaring over ever so often, no one has stirred things up very much to cause trouble.
Makes sense. But surely there must be a what do you call it? The thing, the giant bow and arrow.
Ballista?
Ballista. A ballista hidden to take that thing down.
If such a weapon were used, the elves would swarm in on the place. No, it seems like most of the fighters have either been rounded up, chased out, or have been killed. We are on our own for now.
Best to keep a low profile then.
Indeed, at least until one of the other Forsaken are able to arrive and set things to rights. The Nod One is supposed to be overseeing this area, but there are rumors going about that he has left this place for some reason.
No.
I know it is distressing. But between you and me, I've never fallen in with these monks. They are if you're not into that thing, they are a bit
Meanwhile, Jaeger is currently
unfortunate. And Jaeger gives it like a kind of a casual look around. Yeah, how about that stiff drink, friend?
How about the what?
Stiff drink.
He poured it out for you. It's been sitting next to your ingot.
Oh, okay. Well, Jaeger's gonna just knock it back.
All right, you down it in one gulp, and it is stiff. It burns. Give me a Constitution check. Constitution save, rather.
My save. Oh, okay. 17. No, that's a. Yeah, that was a 9. So that's 17.
17. With a 17, you kind of rock on your feet a little bit as the world like goes blurry for a brief moment and your insides burn. But you're able to swallow it down. It is not a flavorful drink. Like it is potent, it burns, it is strong. But it's not particularly tasty.
So Jaeger's quick enough on his feet, he could thank the bartender for actually giving him a stiff drink.
Yeah, that does seem like something he'd do, but it would be like after he took a deep sniff, and check the urge to cough. Smooth. I appreciate it.
You are not a good liar, friend. I have never heard anyone call that Duergar swill smooth. But it is strong.
And in this kind of world, in this kind of business, that's what you need.
In times like these, indeed.
Well then, friend, you can keep that ingot. If I can get another maybe half bottle of that, and I'll be out of your hair.
I know some Duergar patrons will be somewhat disappointed, but I think I can do more with these ingots than I could with a bottle of their drink. A heavy air quotes implied. And he'll retrieve the bottle and pass it over to you.
Jaeger takes it and straps it to himself. Much appreciated. You take care of yourself.
You as well. Be careful out there.
Indeed.
The elves on patrol, they will be more likely to leave you be. You are lucky you are not Shadowkai.
Everyone tends to give me a wide berth. Even the guards.
I could not imagine why.
And he tips his head and makes the leave.
The orc tribes get stranger and stranger. You emerge back into the Mobian sunlight, which now seems much stronger to your eyes, having been in the dim tavern, even for a relatively short time. As you kind of like realize to yourself that, yeah, Duergar and Shadowkai, and they have dark vision, so that's probably why they keep things so dim. More comfortable that way. And next we are going to jump over to Taliesin and Say. Picking up with the two of you on, I believe in your thread you were walking along the docks, weren't you?
Yep.
Yeah, you're in that neighborhood. So we will pick up there. You've made your arrangements with the Captain's Council. You have plans to check on the airship at some point, but you have it well and secured. I believe you still need to kind of gather up the things from your companions to present to the council to pay for it, but you'll take care of that in the course of the day.
Right. So if I'm going to get to help pay for the ship, I'm gonna need new boots because I don't think that I can just walk around barefoot.
I mean, you could.
I don't
But it
think
doesn't
I
seem like-
should. Also, I'm wearing my homespun socks, and these are nice, and I'd like to protect them.
Oh, that's fair, I guess. Is there a place that you saw, or that you know of, from people here?
I mean, any place that has more than 50 people should have someone who can make shoes.
I mean, I would assume that, but I mean, we could also just, go to Mareki and see if they have some extras.
Yeah, let's see what they have first.
Alright, well, I don't know where it is, but I guess we'll walk this way and we'll
Yeah.
see what we find.
So we're gonna head into the city. Try to find a cobbler.
Okay, I would like you give me a check with advantage. You speak the local language, you've worked on waterfronts before, and you have experience with military outposts, which all work in your favor. So give me a skill check that seems appropriate. Insight, 15.
Yeah, 15.
Yeah, 15 is enough. You do know that in a place like this, down by the wharf where most of the business seems to be done in this town, the shipyards are important, the docks are important. There's a lot of laborers who would normally be moving around down here. They would need access to simple goods and supplies that are relatively easy to come by. And when you begin asking questions, there is a certain standoffishness that you encounter. You don't look... Well, the Shatterkai, and you don't quite blend in as much as Jaeger. You and Taliesin are both...
No, I fucking look like a Mareki.
Yeah, you both are very clearly Mobian elves. And I'm assuming you're wearing your dark gunslinger outfit, though, right?
Yeah. I just came from the captain's meeting, which I was dressed for.
Yeah. So they can... You're dressed in a similar style to the Shatterkai.
We're just confusing the hell out of these poor people.
They are really confused.
We all speak Undercommon, and we all kind of look like them, but not really.
This is...
Why the giant bird's not wandering around.
The Gurish civilians here are used to a very particular set of species back where they're from. And of them, none of you look anything like what they are expecting. And even here, faced with the Mareki invaders, like, to say you kind of resemble them, but you're dressed more like a Shatterkai, but not quite. And Taliesin is similarly has a complexion of a Mobian elf, but his style of dress is neither like the invaders or the Shatterkai, and it's kind of easy to read. It's kind of easy to get the impression that, yeah, these civilians really are not trained for this kind of thing. Like, you really are in, like, these are not soldiers. Nonetheless, by speaking their language, they are a little more willing to speak with you. And it only takes like 2 or 3 inquiries for you to be pointed to another nondescript building along the waterfront. This one happens to just have a barrel outside where there is a Shatterkai woman who is leaning against it and just watching the ships in the port and the guards pass by. And as you approach, you find out that she is indeed a local cobbler who hasn't had much business in the last 2 days as the situation in the city has changed drastically.
Good afternoon. I'm going to speak in Undercommon. Can it just be assumed that I'm speaking in Undercommon?
Yeah.
Great. Good afternoon. I'm looking to purchase a pair of boots, something that matches my outfit more than these ones.
She gives you a look up and down again, kind of weighing your outfit and looking over at Taliesin, and responds to you in kind. Are you with the invaders then?
I mean, invaders is really the eye of the beholder on that, isn't it? And I'll try and give her a smile, like, look, who invaded who here, really?
Give me a persuasion check. Let's get a sense of how she might view this.
Dirty 20.
Okay, she stares at you for a moment and then looks at Taliesin and kind of takes note of your armaments. All right, come inside. She turns to lead you inside.
I'll head inside.
You can see it's a cobbler shop. There's tools lying about, strips of leather, various half constructed footwear. It's definitely not like a show floor. This isn't a store.
No, this is a workshop, yeah.
This is very much a workshop, like first and foremost.
Say's been in those. Say's a fashion nut. She's been in those.
She motions you to sit down as she pulls out her measurements and her not tape measure, there's a word for the loose measuring thing. Oh, that's going to kill me now.
It's a tape measure.
It is a tape measure, just like the... Yeah, all right, tape measure.
Yeah, measuring tape.
Measuring tape. It's the inverse words. That's what threw me. So she begins to move about her business, and after you remove your boots so she can take your measurements, she kind of has a moment where she's looking at the boots and looking at you and then looks up at you. These are not your boots.
No, they are not. Clearly. I gave my boots to a friend in exchange for a favor. My friend gave me his boots. There's a lot of boot trading happening.
I think your friend got the better end of this deal.
I think he did too, but his boots are magic and leave dust everywhere, and that's not really my style.
They sound like they are not very well kept.
They look like they're not very well kept either, but she just kind of shrugs. Can you do magic items?
Magic boots. Huh. And you can see, even though she seems relatively low-key, there seems to be a slowly growing warmth.
Oh, and Say socks are the cutest thing ever. They're actually, like, really thick knee-high socks that are, like, white, and they have got the red toes and the red heels.
She had a stare that lingered for a moment, although she didn't make any visible acknowledgement. But she definitely took note.
They were a Christmas gift from Evron.
So she goes about gathering, checking her measurements against some of the half-completed mock-ups that she has to, finish the project without having to start from scratch. You are Mobian from this place, yes?
I am.
You are the first one I have seen outside of the others.
Yeah, they could be dicks.
They can.
Trust me, they're dicks to me, and I was raised with them.
Oh, this term, dicks. What?
Rude, inconsiderate, generally a bit more violent than necessary.
Oh,
I think
where I come from, we call that orcs.
Yes, it's not that different, actually. Just maybe don't say that to them. Well, they don't know what orcs are yet, so... yeah.
Even more reason to say it to them. I'm sure they will find that eventually. Your friend there is awfully quiet.
Oh, he doesn't speak Undercommon.
My eyes just keep bouncing back and forth between them as they speak. I have gotten an idea on what Say is saying by her tone and her nonchalantness, but like it's only in the vaguest of ideas of like insulting someone because he's used to that. Other than that, he has no fucking clue because she didn't like pointedly look at him when she said it. He's like, okay, at least not me. Some other fucker's getting called up, but that's fine. I'm just gonna sit here and relax.
She nods a little bit. That is the name of the language here, Undercommon.
That's what this language is called here, yes. I have a friend, who's Drow, and they speak it here.
You are friends with the Drow.
I'm friends with a Drow. Well, actually, two, if we're being official.
That is two more than you will find any Shadowkai being friends with. Your initial impression of that is, she's not saying it with any sort of, like, strong rancor. Like, there doesn't seem to be, like, she has nothing personally against Drow, it seems like, but it definitely feels like it's, oh, those people.
Yeah, there's...
might be a bit of racism there, but,
well, there's a lot of that going around.
Drow?
Those people. These people.
Ah. Yes, of that you are correct. She's making some more measurements and marking them down before she brings out her tools to begin working the leather. I do happen to have a set of boots I had been working on that I believe I can adjust to your size. Take a bit of time, but perhaps by this evening it should be ready.
Appreciated. Do you have an idea, a cost in mind?
A cost? I'm not entirely sure. We do... The work we do here for the military is... we don't really charge.
Fair enough, but having some gold in your pocket during difficult times might not be a terrible idea. And I'm not the part of any military.
I see. Well, this is not a particularly difficult task. Perhaps 7 silver marks if you have them.
I'll pull out a gold piece. Not quite marks, but you can use this.
Mobian gold piece.
Mobian gold piece. This will be much more useful for bribing anything or buying anything from the Mobians.
She blinks as she takes it from you and kind of turns it over in her hand. This is what you use for money.
It is. Has the benefits of not giving you nightmares when you hold it.
She pauses and looks over at you, and her gaze kind of becomes more focused. You've handled one of the red marks.
A bunch of them.
See, she shudders a little bit. It's probably for the best that you do not handle any more of them. They say that anyone who does carry them falls under the view of the Onyx Dragon.
That's very useful information. And I will give her another gold piece.
What is this for?
I pay well for useful information.
Oh. I am appreciative. Thank you.
And good boots. Bit of a clothes hawk.
I assure you my boots are the best on this block.
Sounds like a plan to me.
She nods kind of decisively, and kind of as she moves back to her workstation, she sets the gold like beside it and just keeps looking at the coins. Like they are a much purer color than any coinage she's familiar with.
Okay. I'll look to Taliesin. Right. Boots are bought.
Sounds good. Who was getting shit talked?
Oh, the Mareki.
Oh, okay, that's understandable, yeah.
Alright. I'll put the boots of Pharaoh leaping back on. For now. And head out of the shop. Come get my boots later.
All right, as you and Taliesin kind of move to the end of the block, you see a familiar Goliath kind of hanging out and slowly making his way over towards the waterfront.
Oh, hey, Jaeger. I was actually looking for you. I want your opinion on some boats.
On boats? Jaeger approaches.
Or we sneak away and do a quick game of Scrum.
They have space and time for Scrum here now?
There's always time for Scrum.
Okay, noted. But what is this about boats?
Oh, we own an airship now.
Oh, we do. How did that happen?
I bought it. We talked about it this morning, kind of went over the details, but yes. Talked to the Council of Captains and bought an airship.
Well, okay.
One without a heartstone, so we'll have to use Alistair's heartstone in it, but
And if Alistair doesn't mind, then I don't see any problem with that at all.
I don't think he will.
Well, we can worry about the ship later. We own the ship.
Right. We just have to look over them, because I made them I'm going to make them show me both ships so that they don't give us the shittier one. But I don't know anything about ships, so I want you and Alistair there while we look at them.
You bought the ship without looking at it.
Both ships need repairs. We just are going to go for the one that needs the least amount of repairs, so we can get resources and such to get them done faster. I can definitely help, since I have spent a lot more time at the docks than you have, say, as you keep forgetting.
My father was a quartermaster.
Ooh, I like fashion because my family is in the fashion business. Ooh. I can
Right,
imagine-
that's why I look like I didn't just roll out of the forest.
I
'Cause
don't
I
look like I rolled
care.
out of the forest. It looks like I rolled out of the marine, like out of a marine naval ship. Thank you very much.
Out of a marini cargo ship at best.
Do you want a drink?
No, I want to fight. Let's go play Scrum.
I'm gonna say out of a marini hammock.
Say has two modes: drinking or fighting. Pick one.
And occasionally fashionista.
You can drink and fight and look good doing it.
Well, either way, you know where all the strumming's at.
We're
Where
going.
were you anyway?
Oh, I stopped to get new boots.
I have to probably offload some of these animal parts I have. I still have owlbear parts and, for some reason, a stinger.
Oh, you still
How
have
have those been stored?
And since we got them
Well,
No,
he's
how?
Add a character.
in the
Bag of holding.
yeah, in the back holding.
Yeah, where there's no oxygen, so they're not actually decomposing the way they should if they had oxygen.
I thought he went to the tanner to get them treated before that, back in Florida?
Yeah, all like
Yeah, there was a dedicated effort to try and treat those things. Okay. All right, just checking.
Maybe
Robbing
save
me of
those.
all my fun.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Sorry, Rob is robbing you.
Maybe we save those for Asta when you can find like a specialty leather goods shop. This seems more basic.
Yeah, I tried to. He leans in. I tried to get some information, and all I got was booze.
That sounds terrible.
It's decent booze.
Well, that's good. So apparently if you carry the red coins, they're called red marks, the eyes of the Onyx Dragon will always be upon you.
Yeah, we do that say.
I know, that's the information I got with sharing. Can we have this conversation as Say leads them down to the beach to go find some Mareki to play Scrum with?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I offloaded the single ingot and dagger I had, so no eyes on me.
Gave me terrible fucking nightmares. I never carried it. Couldn't stand it.
Okay. So the three of you head out to find some Mareki to embarrass. Let's jump over to Konani and Alistair. So we pick up right after your chat with Telemon. Alistair, you were asking about giant magic?
Yeah, Alistair was asking about the giant magic, but also more specifically that mithril sphere that controlled the castle. That seemed like a good example of just how weird and different it was. So we cited that when he mentioned it.
Telemon, when you bring it up, I would suspect that at this point, Telemon's helped you off the table and has risen to walk with you a little bit.
Yes, the control sphere. It is the source of much of the magic that runs through my castle.
I've never seen anything quite like it.
That is not entirely surprising. It is a very well-kept secret among my kind.
Is that one thing that is kept secret among your kind, or is a lot of your stuff just that secretive? odd question. Yeah. I suppose I should rephrase that. Is that sphere an outlier compared to the other wonders you and your kind are known for?
I fear there is a more specific question beneath this question.
How does it all work? Why is it so different?
In some respects, it is not too different from what you are familiar with. You are an artificer. You are familiar with runic scriptwork.
Correct, yes.
Your runic is it is a form of our rune walk. It is very different in this era than it once was, but it conducts the same purpose. It draws in magic from the weave, from the aether, and channels it along predefined paths to perform the walk that you desire it to.
That tracks so far.
The sphere is a conduit of sorts. It's a very complex piece that was crafted long ago. To be fair, I am not entirely sure of how it functions myself, beyond the commands that I am accustomed to giving. I know that most of the command spheres were forged by fire giants at some point in the distant past, entrusted to the cloud giants. Even today, for those of my kind who seek to establish their own keep, to commission one from the Firekin is a part of the journey, so to speak.
I see. So the fire giants are your, I suppose they'd be analogous to dwarves. Dwarves are more commonly the builders, as far as,
I would strongly suspect not comparing the fire giants to dwarves if you were to ever meet them.
Okay, that's good advice. Without making comparisons to other races, then, it would seem
you are not entirely wrong, though.
Oh, glad to know that I clipped it. It would seem that your different people have different specialties. Fire giants being the more, I suppose, industrious or craftingly inclined.
They are indeed some of the best crafters among my kind. Their walk is beautiful in its way. Perhaps not quite as artful as the walk of the storm giants. And among my kind, I dare say we have a certain aesthetic taste ourselves. I would show you to my Hall of Masks, but they have been vandalized in the time I did not have access to my home.
Oh, it's terrible.
I will have to construct new ones. The collection will grow over time.
Alistair nods, gears turning a little bit, seeing that. Noticing a trend here. Right then, to that end, would you be adverse to... I know this is probably a big ask. You've already given us so many secrets so far. But would it be possible to see the control conduit, the sphere, up close? For my own personal note-taking.
Of course. It is. I would say it is not a secret exactly. It is merely something that we. It is a tool. It is not one we entrust to outsiders because it is potent and powerful, but it is not particularly dangerous in the right hands. With a destination in mind, he begins leading the two of you up towards the top of the castle.
Well, sir, let me tell you, I am all about tools. It's kind of my thing. I suppose the very idea of having an item, an object, a construct that you could simply touch and command will or otherwise control without knobs or levers or buttons to push is something that is intriguing and seems quite possibly useful to me and my companions.
You find the existence of such things strange?
Well, I suppose so, yes. It's rather few and far between. As far as our transportation goes, well, we have ships, but to control them, we often need a wheel or a dial, or there's sometimes a stick, a lever you move around, and there are countless other knobs and buttons and dials to read, and multitudes of systems that have to be monitored and carefully watched, and oftentimes you need more than one person working on them together to make them work.
You see Telemon nodding as he begins to understand kind of the gist of your questioning.
It's all quite analog, and what you seem to possess, I suppose I could call it, well, it's rather quite automagic. You touch and it goes.
You are not wrong. That is very similar to how it does work. I invest my will into the sphere and it channels it throughout the castle.
Yeah, we don't have that. Well, by and large, anyway.
If I might hazard a guess, I would say it is because you have not quite developed the proper rune walk for it yet.
Runic is rather quite tricky. You seem to know a great deal about the world from your perspective, from the first age to the second to the third and the fourth. From our perspective, most scholars and historians are, well, they're dedicated to studying the previous generations, the previous ages, to try to recover what's been lost. As the stories go, when the young gods, the champions of the dragons, walked the earth, the world, there was some kind of language, of runic of some kind. And in our time, we've only managed to couple together some of it. And he looks to his bracers and looks them over and looks over the rune work that even he barely comprehends. There's a lot more that we still don't know. We haven't recovered it all. It's stymied us in a way.
You are trying to unearth the language from which your language is derived. You are able to draw certain connections, but there are other words that are unfamiliar to you.
Right, there's gaps in the script.
It is because the original language has been splintered, and those splinters have developed into languages of their own. In the beginning, there were only 2 languages. There was the runes of the giants and the script of the dragons. And from there, other influences were introduced, and the first two languages were broken and filtered. Until you eventually found a language that made sense, that captured some of the power that had been lost. And this developed into the runic script that you are familiar with. I'd say by now you reach the top of the stairs in the garden surrounding the control hut, and he leads you over to it, pushes open the doors, and exposes you to the chamber with the walls etched in the maps of Mobius and the shimmering stars and the crystalline ceiling and the enormous mithril sphere just hovering in the center of the chamber.
Never worked with mithril before. Sounds like a lot of fun. No, that does sound to be about that does make logical sense. The idea that the first magic was born from two languages, the script of giants and dragons. Telemon, sir, do you know of... The world's been torn apart several times now, and history has been lost seemingly. In all of your travels, I don't suppose you've heard any rumor, any whisper of the old runic being intact elsewhere, somewhere. Then he glances at the sphere.
Telemon folds his arms behind him.
In ages long past, there were many great nations among the small folk as well as among giant kind. These places did not simply disappear. Many fell to ruin, many were destroyed and scattered or shattered. But parts of them remain, scattered about the world. Your kind has discovered some of these places, unearthed some of these secrets. There are other places I would not be surprised to find further remnants. Such things cannot simply be erased, merely lost for a time.
That's a really hopeful sentiment, sir.
When you live as long as we do, you begin to see certain patterns in history. You have a greater amount of time to reflect on such things.
Well, here's hoping we live long enough to get through one of those good moments in history. Maybe find something to leave a mark and make a change.
If I may be so bold, I would say that you already have made a mark and established change.
I suppose so. Yeah, I suppose so. Alistair takes out his sketchbook, his notes, and he's just going to start taking notes, growing gradually more and more silent as he tries to capture details of this. The details of the sphere, of the room itself. Specifically looking to see if there are runes that he doesn't recognize along the mithril sphere surface, or if it's a solid surface or what have you. He's trying to essentially cross-reference and compare to what he knows, or rather what common arcana knows.
Give me a straight arcana check.
Straight arcana. Okay. Let's roll high today, shall we? Let's roll high.
I know you've got a considerable modifier anyway.
Yeah, it's a 17 on die for a total of 30.
Ooh, got some rogue numbers in there. So
that is a rogue number.
As you look over the
Monkers.
sphere, the surface is smooth and nearly mirror-like, and in the reflections you can just make out very fine lines. It isn't until Telamon reaches out and places his hand on the sphere that things really start to come to life. You see the surface almost ripple as light kind of pulses through it, and several lines radiating out from his palm begin to glow with a faint kind of golden white light. You've seen this happen before the previous time he operated the control mechanism. And you see that now that you have time to actually stop and stare, you see that not all the lines are illuminated, but there is definitely a pattern in the way the glow begins to spread out across the sphere. And you see the stars above you. Well, the crystalline glass kind of seems to reflect the weather outside, but then dots of light begin to appear as stars, as they would appear in the sky right now had it been night, begins to illuminate across the ceiling. And you see the designs on the wall begin to shift slightly, and then more pronounced, as it seems like the maps are sliding and expanding and moving in towards Smuggler's Vale to provide a very artistic rendition of where the castle is currently located in the geographical features that are around you. As all this happens around you, you don't see any marks along the walls or the ceiling. Everything is within this sphere. The light moving, pulsing along this tracework of interconnected lines that is reminiscent of runic script, but not the kind of runic script you're familiar with. You've seen scribbles of giants, runic written language before, and this bears a stronger resemblance to that than anything that you've seen. And among the giant runes, you see traces of the angular script of dragons and the blocky script of dwarves. It's not clear. It doesn't look like it's being mashed in or is composed of different languages. You just see elements of those languages within this particular form of runic.
Oh, that's kind of wild. So, the symbols themselves are like a hybridization of the different scripts?
In a certain way. I'm trying to think of a kind of a real world example. It's kind of like I want to compare it to how Russian or Latin uses some letters that are familiar to English speaking residents, but there's a bunch of other letters and symbols in there that don't make any sense to us.
I think I get it.
It's kind of along those lines, except it's more of a pictographic kind of language. Like, you definitely see similarities, but everything fits together in a way that indicates that this is a language unto itself. The trace work that you see are from languages that have tried to emulate this one or has devolved from this one over time.
So kind of like a common ancestor.
Yeah. Like a common written link. And that's because you got a 30 on Arcana.
All right. Cool. I have some thoughts. I will keep them to myself. And Alistair will conclude taking his notes. Well, I think you've given me a wealth of information, and maybe just a dose of inspiration. Thank you for sharing this. This is something that is distinctly yours, and I'm honored to have been shown it. So thank you.
You have a sharp mind and a keen insight into the workings of magic.
And Alistair, you see Telamon withdraw his hand as the lights in the chamber begin to dim back to its previous illumination. And he fixes a very piercing stare on you.
Be sure to use such knowledge for the benefits of your kind.
I'd like to roll an insight check.
Go ahead.
If this is coming from just a general place of, human ambition bad, or if he's seen something.
Go for it.
Wow. Okay, hold on. Total of 23.
Total of 23. All right. Well, you can see that in his words, there's a level of honesty in that reflects the fact that he seems to have you pegged. Like, he knows you're intelligent. He knows that you have insight into magic that's not everyone shares. And he's spoken to you of the origins of Runic and kind of introduced to you a origin of magic that isn't often discussed. And he's shown you a little bit of the Giant's magic, knowing how sharp your mind is. Telamon has already said he will not participate in this war. But you have a dawning realization that he may have just contributed in a very small, very subtle way.
Alistair nods his head. Of course, sir. I intend fully to do good. To do good with this. To do good in general.
And I will make sure of it.
I believe you will.
It's up to you to decide which one of you he was speaking to.
Right then. Well, you've got your obligations to tend to, and your goblins to, I suppose, instruct. And I think it's high time I checked in with the rest of my crew. Hopefully they haven't drained the coffers too much. Right.
He gives you a incline of his head.
Of course.
And he will follow you out into the garden. As you cross paths with Mirai, who is making her way towards Telemon, having just come up from below. Good afternoon, Alistair. Kanani.
Hello.
Hi.
Master Telemon, might I have a word with you? Of course. And she flashes a quick smile to both of you as she moves off to speak with Telemon.
Well, till next time. I'll move with Kanani off ship, off castle.
All right. And as you're heading out, what's on the two of your mind? Where are you going? What are you doing? What do you want to do?
Get
You know
into
your
range.
party is kind of... You don't know where your party's at.
Yeah, I gotta figure out how... What are those earrings? 500 feet? Shoot.
Yeah. Sorry, there's a bag though.
There is a bag. I'm going to take a slip of paper from my notebook. I'm going to affix a little bell on it so that it jingles when I move it. And write down a note. Caught up with Telemon. Things to talk about, maybe? Question mark. How are things on your end? Where to meet up? And I will tuck that note into Concerta, the many-handed pouch.
You find that there is a folded piece of parchment inside of the pouch.
Oh. I'm gonna grab the folded piece of parchment before placing my piece of parchment.
You unfold it, and you see in Say's handwriting, "Come play Scrum," along with a very rough map that looks probably like the waterfront, somewhere near there, with a little X.
Oh, we must have been dawdling. I'll tear up the paper that I have, put the bill away, and try to make sense of the map. Make our way to the waterfront.
Alrighty. Klinkle, do you recall how much time it takes you to make one potion?
All 5 could be handled in roughly an hour.
All of them can be done in an hour?
Yeah.
All of them are done. Yeah, by this time you finished all your potions. You also have no idea where your companions are. But you're in the glade, and Towson, if I recall correctly, the glade entrance is still on Telemon's castle, correct?
Yes, it is.
Actually, now that I remember, the glade, doesn't that have a time frame as to when the portal is active?
24 hours.
All right, then she's fine.
Yeah, he pretty much he makes sure that everyone's out, and then just the very next day lets it drop and then brings it back up. So it's like it's like a hotel closing out the rooms for a bit so that everyone can get the rooms cleaned up before the next check-in.
Exactly. Yeah, just didn't want to make sure that Klinkle suddenly found herself expelled from the interdimensional space.
It'd be that way.
Yeah, so let's see, you guys had breakfast, you kind of wandered about, spoke with Telemon. Yeah, I would say that by the time you finish, Klinkle, do you find another project to start here within the Glade, or do you head out?
I don't know if my Kanani senses will be tingling by now, but possibly see what everyone else is doing.
All right. As you head out of the glade, you see Telemon stepping aside with Mirai, and Konane and Alistair near the stairs, looking like they're getting ready to head down.
Ooh, good timing. Quick bird shuffle over to them.
Hello.
Okay.
They want us to play Scrum.
Twinkle dons the Crow Judgment expression.
I mean, it's just a little scrum between friends, and they probably need a few more people for a team.
Pro judgment expression.
Yeah, I have a feeling if I'd be joining a physical sport like that, I'd probably have to quaff a potion.
And it just so happens that you refresh your stocks.
I refreshed every health stock. My stocks are fine.
So many stocks. The stocks are going up.
Those potions.
Well then, probably need to use a few of them, considering the big man's playing, and considering Say's playing, and considering Talison's playing. And neither of those three held back.
So with the three of you kind of gathered together, you all heading down into the city to meet up with the others?
Yeah.
All right.
Scrum.
So while you're heading down to join them, Say, Taliesin, and Jaeger have spent some time looking for some willing participants, definitely not victims, to rope into a game of Scrum.
I mean, Say's a Mareki. She knows how to taunt people into playing a fucking game of Scrum.
Now, with the city under the Mareki control, there are a lot of soldiers just kind of spread out and forced to be kind of on guard duty for one thing or another. But there are stations where the Mareki would rest or swap out, tag out, change hands for their controls, catch some sleep, or trance rather. I would actually say that most of the soldiers would be gathered, if they're not on the ships or guarding the shipyard, most of them would be gathered around the fort, since that's kind of the center of town and is the it has a wall of its own, so it's the most defensible part of town. So you would actually be heading in towards the command area to check in with some of the Mareki there to find who would be down for a game.
Mildly annoyed that no one was already playing, but yes.
It is an active war zone.
Sir, let me tell you about active war zones.
Well, this is also why you know that this is going to be the area where you can find...
Bored-ass soldiers still play games. There are games of football happening all the fucking time.
Yep, and that's what you kind of... No one's really broken out anything formal just yet. But around the fort area where the Mareki have gathered, there are stations that have been set up for rest, for eating. Like they very quickly established a zone of control over here. And you do find several Mareki soldiers who are currently on their off time, finding ways to pass the time amongst themselves, whether it be training, resting, or you find a few tossing a ball around. Maybe not engaging full on in a game of Scrum just yet, but definitely warming up. And you think to yourself, like, these are the ones that you're most likely to rope into a game. And go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I'll hold up my hands. Toss it here.
You see one of the soldiers looks over to you and does kind of a double take. As you realize by his expression and the expression of the person he was playing with, Valor Company's reputation has apparently spread among the soldiery. It seems like it's gotten to the point where you're all recognizable on sight by anyone in the Mareki army. And there's a brief moment of hesitation before he pitches the ball over to you.
I'm gonna catch it. Toss it up and down once or twice. Has it got a decent weight to it, or are they playing with a rag ball?
Oh, it's definitely got a decent weight. Like, they're on tour now, and this is one way of kind of getting their exercise and being recreational about it. So they're not playing with any lightweights.
Well, that's decent enough. And I'll toss it, but I'll do a good pass to one of the other Mareki.
I'll catch it with a little oof. And with kind of the introductory ritual complete, it takes a little bit more conversation to coax them into a game, since there is a base level of skepticism where Valor Company is confirmed, but you can also tap into that Mareki pride of, I'm not going to let any outsider show me up.
I mean, I suppose if you're afraid of losing face, we could just play with each other.
Are these the mighty Mareki you're talking about? These bunch of scared people?
Not your strongest work, Jaeger, but hearing you kind of even just kind of dismiss them and just noting your size, that's enough of a challenge. And they begin to call over to some of their companions who have also been relaxing nearby, and the discussions are being made on and markers are kind of being pointed out. And yeah, you see that a game is getting ready to play, and I say that's about the time when Alistair, Konane, and Klinkle drop down from the sky. It's never actually been established how everyone moves up and down in the city, so
I mean, I got a ride from an eagle, so...
Yeah. Barring any other explanation, I'm going to say Featherfall is a hell of a spell.
Featherfall is a hell of a spell.
I will mark it off.
Also, I love that our main way of getting to and from places is Giant Eagle or Featherfall. Just parachute in, it's fine.
Yeah, those giant castles, they're not really designed to be docked anywhere.
Right. Welcome, you three. Were you planning on playing as well? I know Alistair mentioned being interested, but...
Alistair's just nodding enthusiastically. Now, as I understand it, it's not sportsmanly to use magic in these affairs.
Gods no.
I'm willing to throw it all out there. I mean, I could figure someone can patch me back up before I break a limb. Maybe.
I've got a potion.
Klinkle probably has 15.
Good guess.
Are you playing Klinkle?
No.
Would you mind terribly watching my gear?
get a thumbs up.
Alright, Say's taken off her heavy ass coat. She's taken off so many guns. So many guns.
Guns, blades, swords. The Mareki that have taken up the challenge begin warming up and stripping down to remove their armor, and a couple are going bare-chested.
Are you all playing skins or shirts then?
They will lean into skins.
I don't
Spoil sports.
exactly have a third.
I
Good
think
thing
we
it's
can.
Octaven.
Yeah, I think we can figure out which team you're on, Jaeger.
Jaeger make sure to remove all of his weaponry, obvious and hidden.
I love the idea of Klinkle just on this cartoon style on this huge pile of weapons.
She's building a nest.
I'm gonna say practically nesting.
I could see someone just like tying a ribbon around Jaeger's arm just to indicate what team he's on. Completely unnecessarily.
Mareki like rules.
Point.
They like rules.
Alistair's going to take, what was it, 5 minutes to take off medium armor? Or 1 minute.
Yeah, you have help. Doesn't take too long.
All right, yeah, he's gonna doff his breastplate.
Yeah, Kanani needs to practice.
Oof. He's gonna actually hesitate a little bit before taking off the Quicksilver bracers, and gingerly put those in the bag of holding, and all but tuck the bag of holding under Klinkle. Okay, important cargo. I'm gonna trust your keen eyes on this one. I feel naked, though I've got a shirt on. I've always been this heavy.
Without all your gear, it feels like you can like run laps around the castle.
I mean, my AC just dropped to 13, and my strength just dropped back down to 9.
God, strength back to 9. God dang.
It was 19. Let's go!
This is gonna be great.
Okay. Admittedly, I did not expect Scrum to be on tonight's agenda. Going to do some movements. Yeah, 1 o'clock's about fine for this. All right. Say, I know you kind of outlined the rules on the forum. I may have to call upon your assistance as a DM who is adept at skill checks to help map out a brief version of Scrum that we can run.
Sure, give me a second to grab the forum link.
Yes, I'm kind of browsing up there myself right now.
Do we want to take 5 while we set up rules?
Shouldn't take that long.
Then we're not taking 5, we're doing it live.
Doing it live.
Good morning, sunshine, I think is the thread.
Yep, that is the thread.
About middle, so page 4. Okay, how do we play Scrum? Full contact sport with a ball is usually a weighted leather ball, but I've seen play with cannon shot too. Ball is put in the center of the field. Teams line up on their goal line, and once the signal is given, everyone rushes to the ball. The goal is to take the ball across the other team's goal line. You can pass or throw the ball backwards or laterally. Okay.
Grab, pass, run.
Grab, pass, run.
Grab, pass, run.
Grab
Okay, so
seems
we
like a
can't
grapple check. Pass seems like maybe some sort of dex or strength-based check for throwing and catching, because it's a weighted ball.
That would make sense to me.
Also, how did you do the skill challenge with Talison's like flight thing? Because that feels like a really good way to system to use.
Oh, when he was an elemental?
Yeah.
That was like a risk. That was Brennan's thing. The rolling consequences.
Yeah.
Closer or further to 10. The further you are from 10, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, that was the skill challenge. Oh boy. Yeah, it was 10.
Rolling with emphasis.
Rolling with emphasis. That was it. Median number is 10. The further away you get in either direction is the captures the effect of your roll, and what was it, like every 5 points away from 10 you get is another incremental success. Let me pull that up.
When you're in a situation where you're likely to succeed well or fail miserably. So it doesn't account your skills into it. Or rather, it's not a check that your skills would influence. So say if you are, skilled at lockpicking, you wouldn't use this for lockpicking.
Yeah, I think this might be useful for like a particularly good play.
Okay. Well, it's just an option, but like I said, it looks like it's going to be a very dex and strength checks heavy game.
Yeah. We'll run a couple checks to simulate it, do it on the fly, and then later on we can do a little formal write-up that we can break out whenever we want to challenge people in new places to a game. All right, so ball is set in the middle of the field, which is kind of outside the walls of the castle. There are a few Marecki that have gathered around to watch, and some guards who have adjusted their position to keep the game in their line of sight. Now, with a game of Scrum as you've described it, there's no real positions exactly, right? Like
no, everyone's everywhere. Usually there is a center person who's like going for the ball, like the team decides that.
That was my thought as well, and was going to lean into the question of which one of you would like to lead the rush to get the ball.
Jaeger.
Okay. Jaeger, this is going to be... Yeah, this is going to be a... I'm going to say this is a dexterity-based athletics check. As the game kicks off and everyone's rushing for the ball, you're literally sprinting to try and beat the opposing Marecki there as your team begins to fan out around you.
Right. Also, Say would like to tackle one of the opposing teams very quickly, the one that looks like it's going for the ball. Can I make an insight check? In order to assist Jaeger getting the ball faster, I'm basically going to try and take out one of their stronger players.
Okay. Yeah, we'll say Jaeger can roll with advantage in this case.
There's 13. That's with advantage.
All right, 13 with advantage. So with that, you charge up the field. Say moves in close to try and intercept the Marecki that's going for the ball as well. I'm going to say with that 13, one of the Marecki's teammates, who was actually going to try the same thing in knocking you off course, abruptly changes course to go after Say. either driving her off or crashing into her. However, in peeling her off, it has given you an opportunity to just barely scoop up the ball and juke to the side past the other Marecki who was diving for it. She successfully drew attention off of you, but now there's the rest of the team to contend with, and you have your party moving up the field on either side of you.
Jacob's gonna try to see how far he can get before he has to toss it off.
Taliesin has moved up, had stayed behind Jaeger and is now peeling off just off to his right, and is keeping a forward motion so that if Jaeger gets stopped, he can hike the ball just laterally to the right to get it to him. So he's moving forward.
I think Alice is going to peel off left if Talison's going right and attempt to find maybe an opening closer to the bounds of the field. Essentially banking on the idea that they're going to be focusing on the big guy. He's trying to find a place where he would be not running into much opposition to gain ground.
Say would like to try and remove herself from the multi-person pile-up so that she can get to a spot where she can basically run protection for Jaeger.
Okay, so it sounds like we've got the team spreading out, Jaeger driving up the middle, and there's... I'm going to assume anyone who's not specifically moving into a position is kind of trailing behind in case the ball needs to get passed back to them.
Is Konani playing?
That's a good question.
Yeah. You know what? I think, because before she was like, you know what, I'm not going to, but, you know, I'm going to have her play.
There are also 2 female Marecki soldiers playing on the opposite side as well. It's a very balanced, no, I wouldn't say balanced, but very egalitarian game.
I think Kanani would, like, be on the defense on the other side of Jaeger, like, flanking, Sei.
Ooh, Hanane and Sei both moving up to protect Jaeger.
Yep.
That is hilarious, and I love it. That is artwork in and of itself. All right, that makes things a little simpler. Well, maybe not simpler, but a little better for Jaeger, as with Valor Company spreading out, the opposing Marecki team was concentrating more on charging towards him, knowing that he's bigger and that they were going to need extra assistance in bringing him down, and kind of taking advantage of the fact that Valor Company was spreading out. Konane and Sei moving up to assist him as he drives up the field actually balances things out with the Marecki who are charging forward. Jaeger, are you going to attempt to just drive through what's coming at you, or try to juke past them?
First charge is going to take that measure and try to drive through.
All right, I'm going to say this is going to be a strength-based athletics check. With Sei and Konane in position to assist you, I'm going to say one of them grants you the ability to roll at a standard roll rather than the disadvantage you were about to get, and the other one adjusts the DC. So,
okay,
straight roll, DC has been modified.
Strength base, okay. That is a 23.
Dear Lord. With a 23, yeah, there are 3 Marecki who are, we're going to say 4 Marecki converging in on you. Konane and Sei leads the charge, being a little more familiar with this game. as she sprints ahead of you to intercept the Forerunners. And Konane, seeing a group of Mareki charging forward, intent on slowing you and Jaeger down, I know Sei would just kind of like barrel into this. How does Konane react to this? Like, does she just throw herself in? Does she give a little war cry? Or how does she approach this physical challenge?
She bares her teeth because she is in her hybrid form and aims to just basically shoulder check the person that's coming at her.
All right, you and Sei both slam into the Forerunners, who immediately like push back against you to allow their two companions space to go after Jaeger. And Jaeger, you just plow through them like a bulldozer. Like you kind of pull the ball in, you lower your shoulders, and you slam into them, and you knock them aside like bowling pins as the two Mareki go spinning off to the ground, and you have a clear path to the other side as Sei and Konane both tie down the other two assistants who had moved in to try and block you. And kind of with a clear sprint to the other side, the Mareki gambit of ganging up on you, failing at this initial round, I'm going to say that's a score for you.
Excellent. Jaeger gets there and spikes the ball, poses, then goes to give everybody high fives.
By everyone, you mean Valor Company, the Mareki, or everyone?
Fuck the Mareki. They don't get high five.
You him like going up to high five one and then just like shafting them at the last second and continuing to move on.
Oh, that's so mean.
This is Scrum.
This is Scrum. Second round, I'm going to nominate that we give the ball to either Alistair or Taliesin, because they'll be expecting us to give it to Jaeger.
For sure.
And then do a throwing game.
Taliesin is more likely to be able to actually throw the ball. Alistair's more likely to actually catch the ball. So I say Taliesin and maybe change hands halfway through.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, Jaeger's gonna rush forward to try to take out initial people. You know, act like he's about to go for the ball, but just like go to be distraction as someone else gets it.
Psych.
Run past the ball and just check the guy who's going after it to the ground.
That was my thought exactly.
Yeah,
Taliesin fucking swoops in.
Yeah,
Holy
running
shit.
straight up behind him, so you can't even see Taliesin.
God, that's brutal. That's so fucking brutal. When did we get this hard?
Sei does not fuck around with Scrum.
We got a taste for blood. Velkin the Mad has infected us all.
Oh, and
Right.
as we kind of break huddle, I'll be like, Konane, good use of elbows. Great use of elbows on that one.
I like to hit with elbows.
Sei just nods emphatically. I feel like she's got a giant bruise somewhere that she's not even acknowledging yet.
She doesn't have one yet. She will shortly.
She's missing a tooth. It's fine.
All right, Taliesin, let's this is another sprint for the ball. You get a dex-based athletics roll with advantage.
Alright, then I will just roll acrobatics since it automatically has my dex add to it. So just pretend
Sounds
it
good.
says that. So, nat 20 down on the farm.
Oh my fucking god.
So how that nat 20 works out. Yeah. Oh my god. Jaeger, since you're taking the lead as to kind of like psych them out, and Taliesin is running up in kind of the same position that Sei had in the last play, there are 3 Mareki who are charging for the ball, anticipating, just planning to like overwhelm Taliesin to get at you. You reach the ball, and you keep going, and you extend your arms out to the side. To me, this feels like Jaeger would scoop all three of them up in his arms and keep going.
And keep going.
As Taliesin grabs the ball and begins to follow in your wake. So that has convinced the other Marecki on the team to pull in from the sides. And you carry these three only, a couple yards more, just to get them out of the way before they slip out of your arms. But it's given Taliesin enough time to kind of move to the side and advance up the field as two other Marecki adjust their courses to meet up with him. The music just hit hard.
It's perfect. The music is perfect.
So, Taliesin, you have a couple Marecki dashing towards you. You do have the option to push forward or pass it over to Alistair, who has positioned himself in a open area. Partially because the Marecki they need to converge to try and make up for the fact that three of them got sidelined by Jaeger in one play.
Yeah, with Jaeger having sidelined them but looking like he's about to be open, Taliesin makes a tell look as he's trying to see if Jaeger's open, and then as he's moving forward, just quickly flicks his eyes over and hucks the shot over to Alistair.
All right, Alistair, it's time to catch the ball.
Oh, I roll for that? Okay. Catching the ball. What's the roll?
Are you trained in athletics?
No. Got acrobatics and sleight of hand, though.
All right, this wouldn't be athletics exactly, so I'm going to say this is a dex check.
Flat dex?
Yeah, unless you have a relevant skill that could be argued to add to it.
That's a 7.
I mean, I would argue that acrobatics is perfectly viable because you have to put yourself out there and use some finesse in catching it to not bite it. But there is also a die, 2 dice in the pool.
There is 2 dice in the pool if you want to re-roll that.
If no one minds, I'll use that dice in the pool.
Yeah.
That's in that 20. For a 24.
They're never going to want to play with us again.
So, not only do you catch the ball, and it's weighted, and you're not a particularly strong guy, so you catch the ball, and you land and kind of stumble and stagger before you catch your feet and bolt. One Marecki tries to run at you to adjust their angle to try and intercept you, and there's just this moment where he looks like he's about to hit you, and you realize he's about to hit you, and you just take off like the greased up deaf guy. You're just out of there.
Is the ground muddy?
No, it's pretty packed earth around the fort.
Just bring in my own grease then, my own slipperiness.
Alistair's just a squirrely motherfucker.
He's a little squirrely.
It's a little bit squirrely and a little bit of just burst of speed out of nowhere.
All the
No.
nerd realizes he's got jocks after him.
I'm in danger! Again!
Right after I tossed the shot, I was immediately booking it towards him so that I could start running defense for him as quickly as possible.
So between the 3 guys that Jaeger had temporarily sidelined, and of the 2 that had been moving to intercept you, Taliesin, one of them had peeled off to try to get Alistair, and Alistair now has just a clear path towards the goal line. They they're kind of out of position here. And it's at the scoring of this point where conversations are had, where it looks like the Marecki might need to add a couple more players.
Fair enough. We'll allow it.
And that's kind of that's the course of how the next couple rounds go. The Marecki needing to draw in a few extra players to assist them on their side to initially make up for Jaeger's size, since he can easily take on a couple people at once. But also, they're starting to realize, like, you all have some talents that you're bringing to the game that's not part of their usual scrum tactics. Sei is probably has the most familiar style that they're accustomed to dealing with.
But she's tiny and brutal, and no one expects the Kyrell to be tiny and fucking brutal.
But she is a tiny Marecki who has to make up for a lot of that being tiny. But even still, like, the level of ferocity is startling. Then they have Konane, who is, well, the animal side of her, like the baring of the teeth and the occasional growl, and it stings a little more when it's coming from a person who looks like they will actually bite you. So there's a level of, like, head games being played.
Weird beast person.
And with Alistair's surprising speed, Jaeger's anticipated strength, and Taliesin, it feels like your skill set makes you a good kind of all-rounder.
Just able to fill in all the good gaps.
Yeah, whatever the play needs. Like, there's Taliesin being a runner, a catcher, a defender. Yeah, you quickly start to... They score some points, but Valor Company is drawing a little bit of a crowd and getting more attention. Right up until a particular play where the Marecki have the ball and the carrier goes to pitch it to one of their teammates when a sharp call to attention goes out, and the Marecki players, trained to respond immediately.
And Sei. She would... Yeah, I feel like Sei's instincts kick in before her common sense.
Exactly. There we go. Like, all of you, all the Marecki just immediately stop and go to attention, followed by a thunk as the receiver went to attention before catching the ball. And everyone's attention turns towards the edge of the makeshift field, where you see a small group of Marecki officers, led by the Maythir himself, have arrived. And Kane is standing with his hands clasped behind him, lips pressed into a thin line. Just takes a moment to observe the sight before him. And his eyes move to Valor Company and to say, I wish to ask when this proposed meeting was to be held among the powers here in the Vale.
I think we decided in about 2 days, Maythia. To give enough time for the dwarves to join us.
He nods slowly and gives another look across the field, and you can see some of the Marecki players are wilting a little bit. But he just turns around and begins to slowly make his way back towards the fort. You see his second in command like looks over them and he frowns directly at the Mareki soldiers, but it's not like a frown of like they're not doing their job so much as this is the best you've got kind of look. Before he turns and follows the Maethir and the officers depart.
As the Maethir turns around, when he has plausible deniability to have quote-unquote not heard her, would you like to join us, Maethir?
He pauses, and there's the silence among the Mareki soldiers is palpable. And he turns slightly to like look over his shoulders at all of you. Unfortunately, I am on duty at the moment.
Perhaps later then. We should teach the dwarves while we're at the stronghold.
Ooh, elves versus dwarves. A grudge match.
That would be marvelous.
I'm so down.
And without committing, he turns away and continues on his way back into the fort.
That wasn't a no.
What was Jaeger mock whispering?
Just like,
No, Jaeger. He's busy. Right. Shall we reset?
Busy
And-
meaning what? She looks to Jaeger.
And with the call to reset, we're going to pause it here for the night.
That's fair. It's almost 11.
Partially, I need to get back in the habit of timing my energy intake to make sure that I can make it out to 11. But 10:30 to 11 is kind of where I would prefer to end game.
For sure, for sure.
And
Fine by me.
we've set up some things that I can kind of build on for the next couple days. I need to work out the travel time for the dwarves as well, since as I recall, that was part of you reaching out to Janica to invite her to this meeting.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I couldn't remember the exact name of the family, so I was like, the dwarves, you know, those dwarves over there.
Forge fire! First of their name!
Oh god, if Janica Forge Fire shows up to a meeting with the Maethir, that's not just any dwarf.
Oh, no.
I like that. That's hilarious.
She'd play Scrum.
She would fucking roll us at Scrum.
She would.
This is where the dwarves introduce their rules to Scrum.
They use iron balls.
I mean, did say sometimes we use cannon shot. I feel like that sometimes is just a little less sometimes for dwarves.
you don't. If you don't make a score, you take a shot. If you score, you take 2 shots.
The Maethir just kind of shot his own team in the foot there. Now they're all shaken,
They've been chilled.
distracted.
Yeah. It's not going to be the same.
If they allow themselves to be distracted by something like that, then they're obviously in need of more training.
Oh, they're gonna get in so much trouble.
You're ruining them.
I feel like
DM.
the officers are just looking at the numbers as we slowly add more Mareki to try and even it out.
Yeah, the officers aren't stopping the game, but they're taking notes, and there might be some conversations had afterwards.
Tactical Scrum. The Scrum data. The Scrum Accords.
That's the whole point of Scrum. It's literally is learning how to act in a melee.
Hell yeah. About what time would you say we get to this part of game so I can move the clock?
Oh shit! The timeline, the time was moving. I said it was about like 1 o'clock when you guys began.
When we began.
Yeah, when you began playing Scrum, I'm gonna say these guys. It was probably an hour. Ah.
Huh?
I'm touching the clock while he's touching the clock.
Yeah.
Our hands touched. Now he feels uncomfortable because it was too close of a too close contact with a mutual. Got weird.
To be fair, most professional sports games last about an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's all the timeouts that drag it out.
And Scrum doesn't have a lot of those. They have resets and goals. Like,
and occasional Mayfairs walking through.
That's the only timeout is when an officer calls attention.
Does that count as the halftime show? Maybe for us. I guess.
I will say that whoever's stuff I'm watching will end up with their 2 potions. I will squirrel away.
I think it's everybody's.
Everyone left their gear with Klinkle, and Klinkle realizes the only way to make them take their potions is to hide it.
Klinkle, I'd like to test something real quick.
Okay.
Taliesin does take them. The problem is he never uses them for himself.
If you open up your character sheet, I've got tokens all across the board here. If you open up your character sheet, you should be able to drag your potions on top of people. You should be able to divide them up. Can you attempt that?
Yes. Gonna get, since I did get a nat 20 in that one, Jaegers with the most amount of blood is gonna get one of those. Oh, you're giving away potions. How many are you giving? 1.
Perfect.
Did I still have 7 though.
Jaeger might have to accept it.
Jaeger, accept my generosity.
How about now?
I've got 6.
Okay, it works. You just have to accept it.
Okay.
Accept their touch.
So I know I have 4 more potions to throw out. Who's missing them?
I've got 2.
I need to.
Taliesin needs to. I have one, but Say rarely uses a potion. It's mostly Taliesin shoving potions in Say. So.
I almost gave you 12.
I think you need
I want to
more
make sure
time
that
than
everyone
you.
has 2 potions on them.
I need at least 1 more.
Okay. I need to give out 1 more potion, so 1 for Say.
Yes.
Say accepted your item offer.
I love it when things work.
Taliesin accepted your item offer. Yay. So yeah,
You're
once
so
you run
tiny.
here again, you'll find that everyone has 2 potions of healing.
Perfect. I'm so happy I
So
made
when-
Scrum happen.
Hell yeah.
And the joke I was making is I'd have to down a potion of giant strength to play this game.
Yeah,
That
magic
would
potions
be
isn't
funny.
allowed.
That
Yeah,
would have
that's
been
why-
hilarious.
That's why Alistair feels so naked right now. He's as weak as he was back at level 1.
And I mean, he's also not wearing a top. Because we're the side of skins.
No, we're,
Oh, I
we're
thought we
shirts.
were
We're
side of
shirts.
skins.
They claim skins.
Oh, they claim skins? Oh, I'm
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's just been an increasingly larger amount of Mareki taking off their shirts and joining the game.
It's not even officially. They're just getting mad, ripping their shirts off, and jumping in. Fuck this shit! And gets
Yeah,
rolled
wrong.
immediately.
Jaeger gets the ball again. He just wades through the Mareki like a toddler wading through waist-high snow.
Instead of
They're-
how
they
many
all grab-
toddlers you can beat up, it's how many Mareki can you beat up.
They all grapple him, but they can't bring him to the ground.
His carrying capacity counts as that of a large creature. Powerful build is a hell of a drug.
He just looks like a mech of Mareki, just clinging to him.
Meanwhile, Sei
Also-
looks beat to shit because she's spending more time like tackling and defense positions and things like that. She doesn't care. She's having fun.
Yeah, Kanani's going all out. She hasn't had, like, a physical anything like that in quite some time.
She
and
needs
is
the
enjoying
release and is having a great time and now knows why Sei is like fucking scrum.
it. Yeah.
The physical release, the animal instincts coming out.
Tranquil,
I
you like?
know we're behind in the fort, so that, like, none of the locals are watching, but I can imagine the fucking rumors this would cause.
We are again cryptids.
There's definitely some civilians who are near enough to like watch this strange ritual.
What's happening? I'm scared. What are they doing?
And from the Ligurians, why are they fighting each other?
Why are they stabbing each other? This is inefficient killing.
And how's that other team? How's that other group so bad that they can't handle 5 small people?
I've seen this in the wild before. It is an orcish mating ritual.
Oh.
Oh god, that just made me wonder about orcish mating rituals.
I mean, this also tends to be a Mareki mating ritual, let's be honest.
I hope orcish mating rituals are like Klingon mating rituals.
Yes, the orcs are the Mareki of Gur.
The hobgoblins are probably more Mareki-like, because they're actually more disciplined and martial. Orcs are just...
Soldiers and warriors.
I mean, being disciplined and martial is one thing, but being all, like, half of your reason for existing is just for battle. And the natural love language of a Mareki is not pure emotions, but, you know, the raw fight and, you know, shit you get out of all of that. So it's less, you got me flowers, like, you took me down to the ground while, very expertly while doing that. I both love and hate that.
That's definitely part of it. I think the idea of challenge is native to the Mareki culture. The challenge, the conflict, there's a certain aggressiveness that they embrace in different ways to bring that about.
At the same time, though, they're still elves, so part of me is like, what if, all deep down they're warrior poets?
I think
there's that martial part, but like...
But yeah, the whole poet side of things is thrown for a loop with the Mareki. That's kind of between the Mareki and the Marini, they're not really... They're elves, but they are definitely not what people expect from elves.
Fair enough. Warrior form of art.
Yeah, it's skill.
That's a
It's
good
not
way of
just
putting
being able to throw someone down, it's being skilled at doing that. Ratha gave Sei a whole speech about skill, basically. And it was very poetic, but it was very much like you needed to be honed and pointed in a direction.
I think, that's a strong part of Mareki culture. It's not, and I think that's why I wouldn't directly compare them to orcs, because orcs are just brute strength. Like, a lot of their a lot of their rituals and interactions come down to just brute force, straightforward applications of that. Whereas the Mareki, there's a place for that, but it's not as impressive or as desirable as applied force.
So what you're saying is sexually charged duels are on the table.
Sexually charged duels are a love language for the Mareki.
Which is
That's
literally
what- yeah,
what I was
that-
saying.
that's,
The
Yeah.
Mareki are definitely the Klingons of the elves.
It's a fascinating spectrum when it comes to strength in terms of like skill versus I don't know what you would call raw aggression, raw power, power versus skill, power versus finesse. There's a lot of interesting dichotomies there, but I'm kind of rambling because I'm tired. Thank you for game, everyone.
Thank you for
Thanks
game.
for
welcome.
Yeah, thank you for game.
Felt like a nice little reintroduction to get us back in touch with the characters and loosen some things up. And now
It's
I've got
always some kind of bullshit when we come back to play.
just the first game to kind of shake off the cobwebs.
Like it's just absolute nonsense when we come back.
I genuinely am curious about whether or not Kane actually wanted to know the answer to that question, or if he just wanted to fucking interrupt that Scrum game.
Yes. The answer is yes.
Kane works in mysterious ways.
Not so mysterious once you understand him.
Still on the fence about that.
Yeah.
Once you
I've got
shoot
some-
sight to see that he's truly a dragon.
I mean, I gotta check out how the Lantern of Revealing works. Hold on. I don't think it works.
All
on.
right. Good night, everybody.
Night.
Good night, everyone.
Yeah, no, Taliesin just needs to accidentally catch him and then we'll find him.